Hello friends, welcome back. My name is Carly and this is Owning Authenticity, and this is the video series where we are debuting the Owning Authenticity model. How do you actually do that? How do you live life as your true self? There's a method. There's a method to the madness, and I am so excited to debut it and introduce you to it here. This is actually the third video in the series, and I've put the playlist down below. So if you are joining us on this video as your first one, no problem. I think you can get value out of any of them at any time. But if you want to follow along, I have shared two videos already that are kind of setting the stage for what we're going to talk about in this video. And that is filling in the first bubble on the model, which is self-awareness. Okay, and if you notice on the model, it's over here. If you notice on the model, there are arrows. So there is like a directionality where it does deepen into your ability to own your authenticity. And then down at the bottom, you see that big sweeping arrow that goes back to the top, and it goes again. Okay, and so then you get back down to the bottom and it goes back to the top and it goes again. And as always, safety is key. Right? That's what we talked about in the second video of we expand at our rate of creating safety inside of ourselves, period. And so what deepens your ability to own your authenticity faster than anything else? Being a safe place for you, right? Having a safe place that goes where you go. You don't wait for other people to make you feel safe. You make you feel safe. And again, that is so much easier said than done. And we're going to talk all about it. But in this first bubble that we're going to look at, self-awareness, like it's right there at the top because it is key. It is absolutely the first key. If you do not have self-awareness, you cannot access. It is the key to open the first door into owning your authenticity. And that is very much where my personal journey started with my spiritual journey. I actually was atheist at the time my self-awareness journey began. I am now heavily spiritual. Personally believe I'm an extension of God, that I have a version of myself that is God, just like I believe you have a version of yourself that is God, but we can dive into that conversation in another video. A lot of water has moved under the bridge in my 10 years of being on this journey, and it all began with a self-awareness journey. And I want to tell the story of what kicked that off for me because I think it's relatable. I think a lot of people end up in this boat where somebody wants something from you that you just feels out of integrity, that like you really cannot do what they want you to do. It's like, I just can't do this. And it's probably something that like is normal, AKA like it's something that society deems as like totally acceptable and appropriate. And then it's like, well, what the hell is wrong with me that I can't do this thing? And so my example, my future mother-in-law, she wanted me to give her a phone call when I was on my way home from work every day and tell her about my day. And for some of you who are also heavily introverted like myself, you probably hear that and go, ew. But for her, as a heavily extroverted person, she thrived on being able to keep up with the people that she cared about. And I understand there's all different kinds of ways. But the real push came to shove when she was personally hurt and offended that I would not call her on my way home from work. And her upset was spilling onto my fiance at the time and was then upsetting him and putting extra pressure and stress on him, which then spills back onto me. And so, yeah, it became a really uncomfortable dynamic. The fact that she was taking it so personally that I didn't want to spend that time with her on the phone. And I guns a-blazing and gonna like try to help her feel better, which is something I've always been really passionate about, is like, let me help her feel better. Let me explain to her who I am so that she can understand this is not personal. This is not about you. This is something that is me focused. I don't want to talk on the phone. like actually grates on my nerves to talk on the phone. So like, I don't want to, and I wouldn't want to with anyone. Okay, it has nothing to do with you. And so I really wanted her to understand that. And so I opened up an email to like write this out to her so that like, here, you can like read this at your leisure and like understand and hopefully feel better. Blank email sitting in front of me and hands at the ready on the keyboard. I'm a very fast typer. I'm like, I'm gonna just type this out, get it done. I stared at that blank email for probably about an hour and couldn't find the words to tell her who I was. And that was the first time that I ever even was inspired to explain to someone in any kind of real depth and detail who I was. Like up until that point, I was earning and achieving and climbing and, you know, chasing and striving and like, what's the next goal? Meet the goal. What's the next goal? Meet the goal. Like classic overachiever. Overachiever is a trauma response, by the way. And workaholic, also a trauma response, like not being able to sit still, not being able to pay attention to myself, not feeling worthy of my own time and attention. Okay. And that's where I started. And my go-to at that point, I had already started very, very briefly. I had started making Pinterest boards and was having fun with that. It was just kind of like a mindless, like, ooh, that's pretty and that's pretty. And like, yeah, just nothing serious going on my Pinterest boards. And when I sat and stared at that blank email, after quite a while, and I was very frustrated, I was like, it doesn't make any sense because I know who I am. And so I go to Pinterest and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find like a few quotes that like maybe if I had like a few different quotes about myself, that would help me to find the words to explain to her who I am. And I started a board on Pinterest called INTJ Female. It's my Myers-Briggs type. And started making pins. Like pinning to my board. And that board ended up with about 3,000 items on it. I pinned on it for like 2 years and ended up sending her an email to which she replied, "Thank you." And that was it. And like never mentioned it. I mean, I really put a lot of energy into this email. Like the point of it was though, that it was never about explaining it to her. It was never about getting her to understand me. It opened up everything that led to my spiritual awakening, that led to my expansion into being ready to embrace my soul's gifts, which led me to starting Owning Authenticity in the first place, which led me to the most joyful work I have ever done on this planet, the most joyful contribution I have ever done on this planet. And where did it start? With self-awareness. And so I want to offer as we go the stories to help you, see in your own life, where did your self-awareness journey begin? And even providing some tangible exercises or journal prompts or things that, like I described at the beginning, this arrow at the bottom, it goes back to the top and you go again. So the more self-aware you become, which, that spectrum goes on for infinity. Okay, so the more self-aware you become, the more you're opening up the rest of this rooted system of owning authenticity. So deepening into your self-awareness, no matter where you're starting at right now. Where did your self-awareness journey begin? When did you start paying attention to who you are? Okay, like that's question number one. And journal prompt number two, or if you want to make a focus wheel out of this, or you just want to write it on a journal page, I am one who ... Fill that in. See if you can write a whole page. I am one who what? I am one who is motivated by what? I am one who loves what? I am one who is fulfilled by what? right? The better you know yourself, the easier it becomes to own your authenticity. And so self-awareness is box number 1. We will continue on revealing the rest of the boxes on this model as we go through this video series. I am so glad you're here. Take a second, like the video if you're digging this series and you're excited for the next part. I put the playlist down below, like I said, so if you are finding this video, you can definitely jump into the playlist and reveal to yourself all the rest of the pieces of Owning Authenticity model. Also, be sure to jump on the mailing list. We're doing a free live event around this model, around owning your authenticity in July of 2024. If those dates have passed, hop on the mailing list anyway, because there will be more free live events for you to take advantage of in the future. Until next time, you take such good care of your precious self, and so will I.